Hundreds of people who had spent days trapped by fires along a beach in the town of Malakuta reached safety more than 300 miles away on Saturday morning, after a 20-hour trip on a naval ship. Others had stayed behind, even as Australian officials across 3 states urged anyone who could leave to do so. By Saturday, numerous towns along Australia's eastern and southeastern coasts were ringed by fire. This is already one of the worst wildfire seasons Australia has ever endured, and by all measures, Saturday was expected to be even more extreme. High winds and temperatures over 100 degrees Fahrenheit were likely to exacerbate fires already raging out of control. Officials in the state of New South Wales said they expected to lose more houses over the weekend. The toll so far, 23 deaths, more than 1,300 homes destroyed, countless animals killed and tens of thousands of acres of national park and forest land burned. Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced on Saturday that 3,000 reservists from the Australian military would be called up to help with the firefighting efforts. Defence Minister Linda Reynolds said it was the first such order that she could remember. Reservists who are fighting to save their own homes from the fires will be exempt, she said. The government is also deploying another naval ship to help with evacuations. Chinook and other military aircraft will be dispatched to help firefighters, and the military will open some of its bases for emergency accommodation. Mr. Morrison said $14 million would be spent to hire 4 more waterbombing planes. The Prime Minister has been criticised by many Australians for his handling of the disaster. He was heckled when he visited the fire-stricken community of Cobargo in New South Wales on Thursday. The extreme heat that officials have been warning about came to pass on Saturday, with some fire-stricken areas seeing temperatures around 100 Fahrenheit, 38 Celsius, according to Australia's Bureau of Meteorology. The agency warned that the danger of more fires along the southeast coast was comparable to New Year's Eve, when some of the worst recent devastation occurred. The hottest place in the country on Saturday was the western Sydney suburb of Penrith, which recorded a high of about 118 degrees. Officials said one major fire had crossed from the state of Victoria north into New South Wales and was spreading quickly. Fire-generated thunderstorms, whose winds can make fire conditions even worse, have appeared over blazes in 2 different places, the New South Wales Fire Service said. Emergency workers were using cranes and air tankers to fight the fires, as winds moving up the coast were causing some of the blazes to merge. NASA has been monitoring the fires, too. The American Space Agency posted these satellite images, which contrast the smoke-shrouded Australian coastline on New Year's Day with the same view through clear winter skies in July. After 20 hours aboard the MV Sycamore, the naval ship that rescued her from the fire-ravaged town of Malakuta on Australia's southeastern coast, all Darcy Brown wanted was to take a shower. Ms. Brown, 16, and her family had only recently moved to Malakuta when, on New Year's Eve, fire that turned the sky red one minute and black the next tore through the town, razing their new home, and making Ms. Brown's asthma even worse. Many people fled to the shore, where they camped on the beach or slept in boats. It was devastating, Ms. Brown said on Saturday morning in Somerville, where she and dozens of others had been taken by the Australian Navy after landing at the nearby port of Hastings. Ms. Brown and other evacuees said they were weary but thankful to be safely ashore. People streamed off buses, some carrying just a few belongings, others with dogs on leashes. One man stepped off a bus, embraced a woman who had come to meet him, and sobbed. About 1,100 more people were expected to arrive from Malakuta on a larger ship, the HMAS Shoal, later Saturday. As fires continue to rage in Southeast Australia, we are hoping to hear from residents and tourists there about how they are managing. Not everyone obeyed the evacuation orders, and for many of those people, officials say it is now too late to leave. Seek shelter as the fire approaches, the Rural Fire Service of New South Wales warned people in or near the communities of Peakview, Numerella and Countegony on Saturday. Rob Rogers, Deputy Commissioner for the Rural Fire Service, had issued a grim warning on Friday: if you choose to stay, don't expect help. We've been very honest about the risk, but if people choose to stay, that's on them, he said at a news briefing. Do not expect there to be a fire truck when you ring. David Rowland, of Bateman's Bay, is among those staying put. He has already felt the heat of the fires once, as he secured a storage shed filled with personal belongings on New Year's Eve. The fire got louder and louder and louder, and then the main smoke came and it went dark in the middle of the day, he said. Aside from the huge red glow from the fire, everything was dark, and it feels like the air itself is going to combust. He drove away as fast as he could. He said Bateman's Bay was like a ghost town now that the tourists had left. But the power was back on, and he said he had enough supplies to see out the fires. He intends to spend Saturday night on his boat. I have the sea here, he said. There's no way in the world I'll drive anywhere. I feel like I'm safe right here.